Good morning, everyone. I'm Congressman Gil Cisneros. It's a great privilege to be here with you all to introduce my bipartisan bill, the Duty Status Reform Act. I want to thank my co-lead, Representative Jack Bergman, former Marine Corps General, for joining me in this important legislation, as well as our co-sponsors, Vice Chair of the Democratic Caucus, Congressman Ted Lieu, and Congressman Sam Graves. I also want to give a special thanks to the National Guard Association of the United States, the Reserve Organization of America, the Enlisted Association of the National Guard of the United States, and the Military Officers Association of America for also being with us here today and helping us introduce this bill. I'm so grateful for all their support. When I worked at the Pentagon as the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel Readiness, I came to understand the complexity of the current reserve component system and how it hurts our readiness and results in our guardsmen not receiving parity in pay and benefits for the work they are doing. So when I returned to Congress in 2025, finally filling those holes instead of operating with a system of patch fixes and red tape, that was one of my top priorities. The current duty status system is overly complex and has created major disparities for our members of the National Guard with equitable pay when activated and earning points towards access to benefits like TRICARE and the post 9/11 GI Bill. With the current duty status system, service members doing similar jobs often receive significantly less benefits due to them being under different duty statuses. Currently, at any point during activation, a guardsman can go between up to 10 different duty statuses, resulting in lapses of pay and administrative hurdles. This bipartisan bill fixes existing problems like this and puts active duty under our one category. That's just one example. And this is not a new effort. For decades, there have been efforts to simplify the system, starting in the Pentagon and continued by Congress, requiring the Department of Defense to look into how to consolidate the roughly 30 duty statuses. I'm proud to stand here today with General Bergman in leading the introduction of this legislation that will do just that. We owe it to our service members to deliver this long overdue change, and I look forward to working with my colleagues to get support on this bipartisan bill and launch this much needed reform. So thank you all, and next I'm pleased to introduce General Jack Bergman.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Good morning, folks. Welcome to a beautiful Michigan summer day out here in the Capitol grounds, okay? No ice fishing here today, though, but what we are going to do, we've been fishing for a long time to figure out a better way to utilize our guardsmen and reservists in a manner that enables them to be proud to join a unit or to be an individual augmentee, and also enables their families to understand how it works. But I think equally important, and I know that from a readiness standpoint, is those gaining unit commanders who don't know who's coming to join them. But by streamlining the processes, everybody's got a better view, from the service member who's being activated, to the gaining force commander, to the personnel system that is charged with making sure all pay, benefits, credits are accurately counted and credited towards that member's quality service. And I tell you what, sometimes better lucky than good, but to have Congressman Cisneros lead this operation, and I'm proud to be his partner in this. His time at OSDP&R now has enabled him to understand the complexity of the problem from the highest levels. Now is the time. I've got several of my colleagues here and many more of our colleagues who are not here today who want to do the right thing but have no clue the hoops that the individual reservist must go through, that guardsmen, the OSDP&R as it's shaped today. We need to reduce the hoops, reduce the complexity, utilize the processes and procedures that are available to us today so that we are ready to activate those reservists and guardsmen when we need them in the fight. Thank you, and now it's my honor to introduce the Vice Chair of the Democrat Caucus, Ted Lieu from California. Ted?
Thank you. I want to thank Congressman Gil Cisneros and Congressman Bergman for co-leading this very important legislation. I also want to thank Congressman Cisneros for his service in the Department of Defense and to General Bergman for his service in the Marine Corps. I served on 4 years active duty in the United States Air Force and an additional 21 years in the reserves. I was a JAG, and at many bases you have both active duty and reserve units as well as National Guard units. We would deal with investigations, disciplinary actions, legal services, and everything we did, duty status was always a factor. I remember when I was first being trained and looking into this, I thought it was a joke that there were 30 different, essentially, duty statuses. It's insane, and it made it very complicated. It made it unfair sometimes where people would get paid differently simply because of a duty status, even though they were doing essentially the same work. Some folks might get points for retirement, some folks might not. This is a terrific bill that takes essentially these 30 categories and reduces it down to 4. And this is super important. And I know as a co-chair of the National Guard Caucus and Congress that I co-chair with Congressman Trent Kelly, that this is something that the Guards folks are asking for, reservists are asking for, and that's just common sense. So thank you to Congressman Gil Cisneros and Congressman Jack Bergman for co-leading this effort. I'm so proud to be an original co-sponsor of this legislation. Oops. All right. It is now my honor to introduce Major General Francis McGinn, President of NGAUS.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Today's introduction of the Duty Status Reform Act fixes a problem Guard and Reserve members have lived with for decades. A duty status system so complex that it undermines accessibility, readiness, and trust. Today's force operates under more than 30 different duty statuses created piecemeal over generations, resulting in confusion for service members, administrative burden for commanders, and disruptions in pay and healthcare coverage. Duty status reform simplifies that system by organizing those authorities into 4 clear, modern categories. This makes the Guard and Reserve easier to use, easier to understand, and easier to administer, especially when members transition between missions. When statuses are clearer, pay is timely, healthcare coverage is continuous, and commanders can focus on the mission instead of paperwork. Let me be clear about what this bill does and what this bill does not do. It does not create new entitlements, new pay, or new benefits. It does align existing benefits so service members performing the same mission alongside their active duty counterparts receive the same rights, protections, and predictability. This is about parity and fairness, not expansion. Duty status reform improves accessibility to the Guard and Reserve, strengthens recruitment and retention efforts, and saves taxpayer dollars by reducing inefficiencies without requiring additional scoring from the CBO. This effort did not start today. Congress first directed the department to address duty status in the 2018 National Defense Authorization Act, recognizing the system no longer matched how the Guard and Reserve are utilized. Since then, this has been a deliberate, bipartisan effort, and we are grateful to Congressman Cisneros, Congressman Bergman, and Congressman Lieu, and Congressman Kelly for their leadership in bringing this legislation forward. We look forward to continuing to work with the department, Congress, to get this right for our service members, our states, and our nation. Thank you. I'll be followed by Major General Retired John Hasman of ROA.
Well, good morning, everyone. John Hashman from the Reserve Organization of America. We're so grateful to Congressman Cisneros, Bergman, and Lieu for co-sponsoring this legislation to address a structural problem that certainly caused much confusion as we kept creating different duty statuses instead of streamlining them. Duty status reform just makes sense, and this is something that is my organization's #1 priority, It's something I worked on when right when I left in uniform from the department, working in the Reserve Forces Policy Board. You know, Guard and Reserve members deploy to the same areas as our active duty folks. They perform the same mission, but sometimes they're there on fragmented duty statuses. So sometimes they won't get the right type of benefit. So for instance, if I deploy and I'm on voluntary orders, I might receive GI Bill benefits. But if I'm there on involuntary orders, I might not receive them. It's kind of convoluted, and each service on top of the statute makes their own rules to it. So this is very timely. One may get all the benefits and the other ones may not on that. The 2008 Commission on the Guard and Reserve stated a military strategy and reserve roles and missions have changed. New duty statuses were created to solve problems that arose or to codify existing practice. This resulted in the 32 different statuses and then the services each interpreting it on their own. The fragmentation is operational, it's not academic. It slows mobilization, increases administrative burden, complicates command decisions, and creates inequities that fellow service members follows them into their veteran status. By simplifying duty statuses into 4 clear mission-aligned authorities tied to defined benefit and package entitlements, we can operate faster as a military, we can reduce administrative drag, and give commanders the flexibility they need without navigating unnecessary statutory complexity. I call it a twofer. So this helps you when you're in the military serving, so you're not so you're performing the same duties under the pay and benefit packages, but as you move into a veteran status and you go to the VA to apply for benefits, you're seen the same way. You don't have to fight for your service time and the activities that you performed on behalf of our nation. So that confusion has led to delays in claims, trying to prove your service time, and avoiding veteran debt. Reform is not only about expanding the benefits, it's about aligning with reality, treating reserve component services as service, and preserving the trained, experienced force that the nation depends on. Again, I'd like to thank the leadership of our congressman here today for co-sponsoring this bill, and I will be followed by Command Sergeant Major John Gipe, the Executive Director of Angus.
Well, good morning. I'll keep this brief since a lot's already been said about this, but this is something that I'm extremely excited about. 25 years ago, after 9/11, the reserve component transitioned from a strategic reserve to an operational force. About 15 years ago, that we started looking at the duty statuses and an easier way that we could transition our Guard and Reserve folks in and out of active duty and give them the same benefits and entitlements that they deserved. The congressman's leadership in moving this forward, this is going to have a huge effect on not only the soldiers but their families as we move forward in the future, and it's going to increase the readiness of the Guard and Reserve. I just can't say enough for what you all have done by moving this forward. This is something that I've been working for over 15 years, and it's to see it come to fruition or start to come to fruition just has a lot of meaning to me. So we appreciate the leadership that you all have provided, and looking forward to doing anything we can do to assist you in getting this bill moved forward and through. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Congressman Cisneros.
All right, so again, this is a big movement here that we have coming, duty status reform. It's a long time overdue. And with that, I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank all these associations that have worked so hard on this issue for so many years. It is finally coming together. We're going to push it forward to ensure that it happens. But thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
A question about whether or not you're going to be able to move this forward. Obviously, this has been going on for quite some time. Associations have been pushing for this. What makes you think that this year can be different? And do you think that possibly Trump's use of the Guard, which has been controversial, might just highlight some more of these inefficiencies and inadequacies in the current law.
Well, I think, to me, this is about really the service members of National Guard, to making sure that they are getting the parity that they deserve when they're called up for orders. Look, we can disagree or not on whether or not they should be used for this or that, but the fact is they are being used, and if they are being called up, they should be getting what they deserve. So that's why this is important. And look, this is something that the Pentagon has wanted. I know that for a fact because I was there. It was something we pushed for. The people that worked on it so hard for years are still there, kind of working on it and want it. The National Guard Bureau wants this. The Council of Governors was very supportive of this initiative as well. So I think now is the time to kind of move it forward, and I'm just glad I'm here now in this role where I can kind of make that happen, and we're going to keep working to make sure that it does get across the finish line.
Have you or Congressman Bergman, have you had any conversations with House Armed Services leadership about possibly including this in NDAA, or how would this move forward?
Yeah, I spoke with the ranking member Adam Smith about that, and there I plan to meet with the chairman soon too. But it is something that I think they'll be supportive of, because again, this is something that benefits the service member overall, and it's going to simplify that. So, Jack, do you have any?
It's a great question, and when you think about partnerships, and one of the reasons that the HASC has been as productive as it has been, it's been that literally bipartisan leadership between Chairman Rogers and Ranking Member Smith. They work together. They set the example for all the rest of us, Democrat or Republican, on the committee. So I am more than cautiously optimistic on the timing that we have here, because when you think of a defense dollar, and we don't talk about the totals, but how do we spend a defense dollar in the right way without overspending, but also the very subtle part of this, in the end, if we do it right, it's about our readiness, but it's also about the recruiting and retention of those men and women who have not even yet thought about serving in the Guard or Reserve or active duty, but they go, wait a minute, these are people, entities, the federal government in this case, combined with the state governments, who really care enough about us to try to make it better for us, and we're willing to raise our hand and take the oath. So that's what this is. This town could use a whole lot more bipartisanship, and we're going to do it today here, and be that example for those youngsters.